Hello, and welcome to AzATA 2022 Annual Winter Symposium. My name is Mark Eilers. I'm an assistant professor at Grand Canyon University, and I'm here today to present our research on characteristics of sickle cell trait policies and procedures at NCAA Division III institutions. Before we start this presentation, I want to state that I have no conflicts of interest and disclosures for this presentation. The views expressed in these slides and today's discussion are ours unless otherwise noted, and participants please use discretion when using this information contained in the presentation. Sickle cell trait is a condition where an individual inherits one normal hemoglobin allele and one sickle hemoglobin allele. Sickle cell trait affects more than 100 million people worldwide and is prevalent in athletes of Mediterranean or African descent. In the United States, 8% of African Americans, 0.5% of Hispanics, and 0.2% of Caucasians have sickle cell trait. In August 2010, the NCAA introduced a proposal addressing sickle cell trait screening for Division I athletics and extended it to subsequent years for Division II and III institutions. The purpose of this study was to describe the characteristics of sickle cell trait policies and procedures at NCAA Division III institutions. Our study includes sending a web-based survey to 442 NCAA Division III head athletic trainers. Of those 442 division schools, 158 certified head athletic trainers responded and completed this study in its entirety. Those characteristics included 41 years of age, with 18 years of certified athletic training experience and 11.1 as a head athletic trainer. The survey tool included multiple questions to assess the availability of sickle cell trait testing, availability of sickle cell trait waivers, and policy and procedure revision processes. After compiling our data from the survey, we found that 70% of head athletic trainers reported that their institutions do not require sickle cell trait testing. Most head athletic trainers reported that their institutions offered sickle cell trait testing to their student athletes in some capacity, whether it's at the institution's expense or the student's expense. Additionally, a slight majority of institutions required all student athletes to undergo yearly sickle cell trait education. We also investigated how often the policy and procedures were revised and practiced. We found that 79% of institutions and 56% of team physicians reviewed the sickle cell trait policies and procedures on an annual basis. However, 18.9% of institutions did not review the sickle cell trait policies or procedures at any point. We also investigated whether athletic trainers understood the difference between sickle cell trait and the sickle cell disease, and 5% of those athletic trainers that completed the survey reported that there were no differences between the sickle cell trait and the sickle cell disease. The purpose of this study was to describe the characteristics of sickle cell trait policies and procedures, as well as investigate the frequency in which those policies and procedures were being reviewed by Division III institutions. Our findings, as noted earlier, indicate that most Division III institutions who were surveyed did not require the student athletes to be tested. However, if an athlete were to want to be tested, it was provided at most institutions, whether at the individual's expense or at the institution's expense. All Division III institutions reported that they at the very least had the athletes sign a waiver, which is in compliance with the rules and regulations set forth by the NCAA. There has been a reduction in the incidence of death associated with sickle cell trait since the legislation has been implemented by the NCAA in 2010. At this time, it is unclear whether the decrease is related to the screening for sickle cell trait, the emphasis on education, or a combination of both. Athletic training staffs and institutions should conduct annual reviews of their sickle cell trait screening policies and procedures with all stakeholders. Institutions should require annual sickle cell trait education for student athletes regardless of the sickle cell trait status. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our research. A poster will be available at AzATA for review. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us using the information provided. Have a great day and enjoy AzATA 2022 Winter Symposium.